The neighborhood held its breath when Karen's voice cracked the evening calm like a sledgehammer through glass. "You're out by tomorrow, or I'll have you dragged out," she bellowed, her chins wobbling as she thrust a stack of papers at me, her eyes glinting with smug triumph. I stood on my own porch, arms crossed, staring at this woman who'd terrorized our quiet street for years, now claiming my house me housey as hers. The audacity was almost laughable, but the fury in her voice made it clear she believed every word of her lie. Karen was a walking caricature of entitlement, her oversized frame draped in a garish floral dress that screamed for attention. She'd been the neighborhood's self-appointed dictator since she moved in 2 years ago, always barking orders, filing complaints about kids' lemonade stands, and once calling the cops on Mr. Jenkins for suspicious gardening at 7 a.m. Her latest target was me, a single dad who'd inherited this modest 2-story home from my parents. I'd kept to myself, fixed the roof, mowed the lawn, paid the taxes, yet here she was, waving forged documents, claiming I was a squatter on her property. "Karen," I said, my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest, "you're mistaken. This is my house. Always has been." Her lips curled into a sneer, and she jabbed a meaty finger at me. "Don't lie to me, you freeloader. I bought this place fair and square. These papers prove it." The papers were pristine, official-looking, with seals and signatures that might have fooled someone less meticulous. But I'd seen enough of Karen's schemes to know better. She'd tried to scam Mrs. Alvarez out of her parking spot last summer, flashing fake permits. This was just her latest con, dialed up to 11. The neighbors started to gather, drawn by the commotion. Old Mr. Jenkins leaned on his cane, shaking his head. Maria from next door whispered to her husband, their eyes darting between me and Karen. A couple of kids on bikes lingered at the corner, sensing drama. Karen reveled in the attention, her voice growing louder. "You think you can just live here rent-free? I own this block. I've got the deeds, the contracts, everything." She waved the papers like a flag of victory, oblivious to the absurdity of her claim. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Karen, I've got the original deed, the tax records, and a lawyer who's been handling my family's estate for decades. You want to play this game? Let's play." Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't back down. "You're bluffing," she spat. "I'll have you out by morning, and I'll sue you for every penny you don't have." The threat hung in the air, sharp and venomous, but I wasn't rattled. I'd dealt with bullies before, and Karen was just the loudest one yet. The truth was, I didn't just own my house, I owned hers too. My parents had bought up a few properties on the street years ago, including the one Karen rented. She didn't know that, of course. She thought she was dealing with some nobody she could steamroll. I'd kept my ownership quiet, letting the property management company handle her lease to avoid exactly this kind of drama. But Karen had crossed a line, and I wasn't about to let her rewrite reality. I pulled out my phone and dialed my lawyer, keeping my eyes locked on hers. "Hey, Tom, it's me. Got a situation here. Karen's claiming my house with some fake documents. Can you pull the records and send them over?" Karen's face twitched, a flicker of doubt breaking through her bravado. "You're wasting your time," she snapped, but her voice wavered. She turned to the growing crowd, playing the victim. "This man's been squatting in my property. I'm just trying to protect what's mine." A few neighbors murmured, but most looked skeptical. They'd seen her antics before. Within minutes, Tom texted me the scanned deed and tax records, clear as day, showing my name as the owner of both properties. I held up my phone, letting Karen see the screen. "This is the real deed, Karen. And guess what? I own your house, too. You're my tenant." The color drained from her face, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. That's impossible," she stammered. "I paid for this house. I have the paperwork." Her hands shook as she clutched her forged documents, her confidence crumbling. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "You thought you could forge a deed and evict me? You're not just Rangieri committing fraud. And I'm not letting it slide." Her eyes widened, but before she could respond, the sound of sirens cut through the evening air. 2 police officers stepped out of a cruiser, their faces unreadable. I'd called them earlier, suspecting Karen's papers were fake. Now, With Tom's documents in hand, I was ready to end this. "Officers," I said, walking toward them. "This woman's trying to evict me from my own house with forged documents." I handed over my phone, showing the legitimate records. Karen's voice rose to a screech. "He's lying. He's a squatter. Arrest him." But the officers weren't buying it. They took her papers, examined them, then looked at my evidence. One of them, a grizzled veteran named Officer Daniels, raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, these signatures don't match. And this seal? It's not even close to county standard." Karen's face turned beet red, her hands flailing. "This is a setup. He's framing me." But the neighbors were done with her. Maria stepped forward, her voice sharp. "She tried to pull something like this with my cousin last year. Fake contracts, fake everything." Mr. Jenkins nodded. "She's been bullying everyone on this street. About time someone stopped her." The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a chorus of agreement. The officers exchanged a glance, then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us," Daniels said, pulling out his cuffs. Karen's eyes bulged. "You can't arrest me. I'm the victim here." But her protests fell on deaf ears. The second officer, a younger woman, took the forged documents and bagged them as evidence. "Fraud's a serious charge," she said. "You'll have a chance to explain at the station." As they led her to the cruiser, Karen's bravado melted into panic. She twisted, shouting over her shoulder, "This isn't over. I'll sue you all." But the neighbors just watched, some shaking their heads, others whispering in relief. I felt no triumph, only a quiet satisfaction. Karen had built her throne on lies and intimidation, but it was crumbling now, brick by brick. The cruiser pulled away, Karen's silhouette shrinking in the rear window. The neighbors dispersed, their voices fading into the night. I stood on my porch, the deed still open on my phone, a reminder of the truth that had undone her. This house wasn't just my night, it was my parents' legacy, a place where I'd raised my daughter, where we'd carved out a life. Karen thought she could take that from me with a few forged papers and a loud voice. She was wrong. In the days that followed, the neighborhood felt lighter. Maria brought over a plate of empanadas, a silent thank you. Mr. Jenkins started gardening again, unafraid of Karen's complaints. The kids on bikes laughed louder, their voices free. Karen's house sat empty, her lease terminated after the fraud charges piled up. I didn't gloat, there was no need. The truth had done its work. Sometimes, justice doesn't need a loud voice or a heavy hand. It just needs to stand its ground, steady and unyielding, until the lies fall apart. Karen learned that the hard way, and I hoped, somewhere deep down, she'd think twice before trying to bully her way through life again. But for now, the street was ours again, and that was enough. The end.